Americans are still feeling pain and misery at the airport. Some are better, some are worse. But the bottom line is Democrats are really pissed that Donald Trump is coming to the rescue. We're going to show you exactly what you need to know about who's trying to make your life miserable coming up in just a moment. Plus, the No Kings March. It was as insane as they are. That's right. And we'll show you the worst of no kings and how they seem to be just fine with communists. Just no kings. That's coming up in just a moment. And the conflict in Iran. Weeks, not months, says Marco Rubio. We'll show you that and his evisceration of George Stephanopoulos. All that and a whole lot more coming up right now. My name is Larry O'Connor, and you can call me Larry. Early onset dementia and Alzheimer's are on the rise. Reports show a 373% increase in diagnoses among 30 to 44-year-olds and a 311% increase in 45 to 54-year-olds in the U.S. in recent years. Now, when doctors treat brain disease, they often focus on medicating the brain itself, addressing symptoms instead of the root cause, which is chronic inflammation and oxidative stress. Now, these factors damage brain cells and lead to the buildup of toxic proteins, the hallmark of Alzheimer's disease. But like much of the body, many brain issues trace back to the gut microbiome. There's a direct communication line between your gut and your brain, the gut-brain axis, let's call it, where gut bacteria influence inflammation, mood, memory, and cognitive function. And that's why what you eat matters so much. Kimchi contains over 900 probiotic strains, and studies show its bioactive compounds help reduce inflammation, protect brain cells, and even improve memory and cognitive function by preventing amyloid beta plaque buildup. That's why Brightcore created Kimchi One. It delivers all the benefits of real kimchi in convenient capsules. No taste, no smell, virtually no sodium, non-GMO, and 100% made in the U.S. Today, you can get an exclusive offer by clicking the link below for 25% off your order, or use that QR code, or just go to brightcore.com/Larry for 25% off the whole order. Or you want an even better deal? Call my friends at Brightcore. You'll get up to 50% off your order and free shipping. Give them a call, 888-462-4779. Well, if you traveled this weekend, you had a better time at some airports. You had a worse time at other airports. Either way, as I told you last week, Democrats' political strategy right now is to create as much chaos and misery in your life. Your unhappiness helps them politically. Understand that, and everything makes sense. In fact, President Trump plans on paying TSA agents even before the Senate does anything by moving money around at the Department of Homeland Security, and Democrats are pissed. That's right. They don't want TSA agents to get paid. They don't want your life to get better. I'm going to show you exactly what they said in just a second. But first, take a look at what it was like in Houston, where we had seen horrible, like 6, 7, 8 hour long lines. Well, they called in the ICE agents, and look what happened.
Hi, Bill. So the last week and a half, I've been the one having to give the bad news.
Well, we're not getting any audio on that, are we?
Yes, we are.
Oh, you are? Well, I'm not. We'll play it. Go ahead.
Well, this Monday morning, bright and early, I'm here to give the good news. So we are at Houston Airport. It's been the hardest hit airport during this shutdown. Literally no line right here. So we are at the security checkpoint. Once you hit that checkpoint and get behind it, that wait time probably about 30 minutes or so. But follow me this way. You could see last week we were here reporting on 4+ hour wait times. That line, it spilled outside the terminal, then right here to the 2 lower levels where, again, people were waiting hours. They had to put up these makeshift lanes, and now you could see it is just empty here. So this is a beautiful sight for these travelers, TSA agents. As Bill mentioned, they're expected more of them to get paid today, but still many have not returned to work. On Saturday here in Houston, 38% of TSA officers here at Bush Airport called out. Now, Border Czar Tom Homan was at this airport last week to see how things were going. He said those ICE officers would stay here until operations were back to normal. Check out these pictures I took on Friday. ICE officers here behind security checkpoints helping carry those carry-on bags right into the scanners. Hi, Bill.
Now you're muted, Larry.
So you saw the ICE agents there coming to the rescue. Remember last week? Oh, ICE agents aren't trained to do this. How are they possibly going to be able to carry a bin with a carry-on piece of luggage over to a scanner? It takes months to learn how to do that sort of thing. Of course, the ICE agents are helping. Also helping is the fact that TSA agents returned to work today in many cases because President Trump announced that he's going to find the money and move it from another program at Department of Homeland Security and pay those agents. And that's good news for you, good news for travelers, good news for TSA agents. CNN asked one of those TSA agents to come on the air, and they were not expecting to hear this.
What is your message and the message of those that you represent to Congress, to perhaps the president as well, about having to continually go through this every time Congress is supposed to be passing bills that pay the bills?
Well, I have to say thanks to the president for signing the executive order to pay us. But I also have to say that there's other parts of the Department of Homeland Security that aren't being paid, right?
Look at her face. Look at her face. What's your message to Congress? Well, my message is thank you, President Trump. I didn't ask you. I didn't ask you what your message was for him. Unless your message is no kings. Look at the face. Oh, yeah, that's a bad sign. Democrats are upset. Democrats are upset because that man is happy. Democrats are upset because that man said thank you for paying us, for working. Democrats have engineered 3 government shutdowns in the last 12 months. Remember everybody saying, oh, none of this is normal. We've got to return to regular order. There's just chaos. They're causing the chaos. It's unprecedented. 3 shutdowns in 12 months? That's never happened before. And it's not Trump doing it. It's Chuck Schumer and the lunatics in his party doing it. Trump is problem solving. And so when they tell you exactly who they are and what their priorities are, you should be listening. Here's Congressman Jim Himes on with Margaret Brennan, Face the Nation yesterday. Listen to his complaint about TSA agents being paid. It angers him that the chaos is over.
Practically speaking, ICE is already funded. In fact, it's one of the few DHS entities where people are getting paid because they had so much funding from the president's last bill. And now their portfolio is expanding because they're in American airports across the country. So what did Democrats get out of this standoff?
Yeah, well, Margaret, the standoff is not done yet, right? The president is illegally paying, apparently, TSA agents.
There you go. He's breaking the law. You know what, dude? You should impeach him. Please impeach him. Impeach him for alleviating the pain of the American people who are going to airports during Holy Week. Please impeach him for that. We'll give you as much time as you want on this show to make the case. It's illegal, I tell you. It's outrageous. How dare he actually pay people who have been working for the last 40 plus days without a paycheck? We want them to suffer. He's not the only one. CNN, same thing. Are you happy the TSA agents are going to get paid now? Are you happy that the airlines are going to be able to function properly and the airports aren't going to be a nightmare? Does that make you happy?
Well, what we just heard from that TSA union rep is the person standing up for those hardworking American workers is the president. With that executive action that he took at the end of the week, they're now getting new money into their bank accounts finally again. Are you thankful that he did take that action?
Well, look, the president, if he's been saying for a while that he could have taken some action so that would have never had this issue. He could have told Johnson, make the deal. But he did not.
But he is the one who actually did take action, not the Congress so far. Do you support and are you thankful that he did take action when you're saying that the hardworking American worker of TSA have been the people caught in the middle?
The president, they should have never, you heard that agent talk about how they were in debt, the number of, extra interest and penalties, et cetera. That should have never happened. And the president could have prevented that from happening.
So he refuses to say that this is a good thing, that he's happy about it. And I love the passive language. This should have never happened. You made it happen. You did it. You know, another way of saying this should have never happened, and a more accurate way of saying it, because he's acting like it was an earthquake. Like, oh my gosh, this thing that happened. This thing did not happen. You happened. You did it. The way to say it properly should have been, we should have never done this. Not this should have never happened. We should have never done this. When CNN reaches the point where even they can't deny the truth and the reality of this situation, you know you're on the winning side of this. You know that it's so obvious that even CNN has to face reality. In fact, the only other appropriate move here by Congress, if they really, really wanted to feel some empathy for the people who are suffering, is for them to also go without their paychecks. A lot of people have been saying that. Why should all of these people in the Homeland Security Department who are told to work without pay, why should they be obliged to do that when Congress gets paid and they're not even working? They're just sitting around not voting. That came up.
Like, why should it be the TSA agents and those and the government workers that are making $45,000 a year, they go a month without a paycheck, that it matters to them?
Absolutely. Yeah, no, they should get paid. But also it's kind of written into the Constitution that you can't use the pay of representatives as a leverage point on how to get policy.
Yeah. No. Hey. Our pay is protected by the Constitution. You can't do that. We can use it as a leverage point on those little minions over there. But how dare you do that to us? Remember how I said even CNN can't deny the reality? Wish I could say the same about Margaret Brennan over at CBS News Face the Nation. She denies reality. In fact, she denies facts and truth and basic American history. Watch Margaret Brennan, paid professional journalist, host of Face the Nation, pretend like she's never even see I'm Just a Bill from Schoolhouse Rock. Watch her pretend that she doesn't know how Washington, D.C. works, and then watch the buzzsaw that she ran into, known as Tom Homan.
Look, and the American people hold Congress responsible. They're on vacation right now while tens of thousands of DHS employees aren't being paid.
Right, but Republicans control both chambers. This is the president's party.
The Democrats shut down DHS. They voted shut down DHS because they simply won't fund DHS because they want to change ICE policies so ICE is less effective in the interior. Remember why we're here? We're here because the last 4 years of an open border, millions of people are in this country illegally. Many public safety threats, national security threats, and we're out seeking them and arresting them, and they simply don't like ICE enforcing the law. They proved that last 4 years they didn't let ICE enforce the law.
That is 100% true. Fact check true. No Pinocchios seen anywhere. Margaret Brennan, just a recommendation for you, Ms. Brennan. It might help you with your job that you have. Once in a while, you might want to read and or watch the news. Well, I mean, the president's party controls the House and the Senate, so they're at fault here for not getting it done. Like, acting like she has no idea the basic rules of cloture and the filibuster and 60 votes that's been in place. Well, the 60 vote has been in place for about 40 or 50 years. The filibuster used to be 2/3. It goes back over 100 years. And most eighth graders know this. I know you know it. It's kind of what everyone's been talking about for months and months and months and months. And so she's either willfully ignorant or she's lying or she's just stupid. Could be all three. Could be all three. But even that kind of gaslighting didn't play over on ABC News, of all places, where even Jonathan Karl had to say to Chris Van Hollen, please don't play this game. We're not morons over here. We're not Margaret Brennan.
I guess what's confusing here is you have fought and blocked the funding for the Department of Homeland Security because you object, as you just outlined, to what ICE has been doing. And you wanted to force changes. And yet, the only thing that has been assured throughout all of this is that ICE already has the money. Because as you said, $75 billion passed in the budget bill last year. So you're holding up the entirety of the Department of Homeland Security because you object to ICE and you want changes to ICE. But through it all, ICE continues to have the money it needs.
John, we're not holding up
all of the money for all the Department of Homeland Security. That's just a false statement. We have said repeatedly, repeatedly, we should fund TSA, we should fund FEMA, we should fund the Coast Guard. We are not prepared to give ICE another $10 billion on top of the monies they already have and are using in many of these lawless operations. We're not going to give them another $10 billion unless they make fundamental reforms,
over that $10 billion, you're holding up everything else
for the killing of American citizens.
And fighting over that additional $10 billion, you are holding up the rest of Department of Homeland Security.
We're not holding it up.
I mean,
you're saying, no, John, we're not holding it up. We have now voted 10 times.
Right, but you're holding up unless it doesn't include money for ICE. That's just a fact.
That's just the fact. And it is 1,000% just the fact. And it's getting lost in them because the Democrats, God, they're so good at lying, I got to say. And by the way, I would have paid thousands of dollars to an ABC News intern or production assistant if they could have put a little margarita paper umbrella in his coffee cup there on the set there, Chris Van Hollen, because he's great when he's fighting down in Central America for illegal alien gang members. They're so good at looking at you and lying that people understandably tend to believe it because most Americans cannot imagine how duplicitous and deceitful they can be. But they're acting like the Senate has some kind of line item veto that even the president doesn't have. You know, you send a spending package to the president, and there's a lot in there that he might not like. But this is the process, and this is how we do it. Governors have this opportunity, many governors, but presidents do not. Even Bill Clinton was asking for a line item veto. Ronald Reagan was asking for a line item veto, where the Congress can send the president the big spending package, the big appropriations bills, and then they can say, yeah, not this, not this, not this, and then sign it, and it becomes law. The Senate is trying to take over those powers. You see what he's saying here? Oh, no. Oh, we're willing to fund everything. We just want to draw a line through this one thing. That's what we don't want. And apparently John Thune wants to give them the power to do that, gives the minority the power. He wants to give the minority party in the United States Senate more power than the president has when signing spending bills. Think about that for a minute. And even John Karl couldn't let it stand. No, you guys have defunded this department, and you're doing it for political gain. And the president has just done an end around them. And now TSA agents are going to get paid, and we have this standoff. And the Senate's still on vacation, everybody. John Thune, who wanted to be the majority leader, doesn't seem to be doing much leading. Now, that's just weird. Coming up in 1 minute, the ridiculous, crazy lunatics known as the No Kings movement. We'll show you all their shenanigans coming up in a sec. But first, I have seen a lot of films about America's founding, but very few understand what actually make this country exceptional. A Great Awakening does just that. Before the revolution, there was a revelation, and this film captures it in a way that honestly surprised me. Watching George Whitefield stride into a fractured set of colonies preaching liberty in Christ with unapologetic boldness had me realize something we don't talk about enough. The American experiment didn't begin in a committee room. It began in the human heart. What moved me most was the relationship between Whitefield and Ben Franklin. By the way, the actor who plays Franklin, phenomenal. Franklin the printer, a man of reason, finding himself drawn to a preacher whose message couldn't be measured in ink or logic. That friendship is portrayed with depth and authenticity, and it reveals a profound truth. Freedom can't simply be written into law. It has to be awakened in the people. In theaters, April 3rd, this is more than a period drama. It's a reminder of who we are. Learn more today by visiting agreatawakening.com. I highly recommend this. Go watch the trailer at agreatawakening.com. Well, the lunatics were out in force this weekend. It was the No Kings March, everybody, where we protested the man who actually got elected by the people to be president of the United States and is currently very frustrated by the other legislative bodies not letting him do what he wants to do because he's a king. Or wait a second, none of that makes any sense. He's not acting like a king at all. Well, they're the left, so I'm sure it makes sense to them. Here's Tim Walz, the governor of Minnesota, pledging his fealty to the most important Americans alive.
And I will add a special thank you and a special acknowledgement that we will never leave the side of our Somali Minnesotans. Here's our pledge to you. Our Somali Minnesotans, your great-grandchildren will still be here when that orange clown is in the dustbin of history. You will be here.
You know, my favorite part is there's not one Somali in the crowd. It's the whitest, oldest freaking crowd. Where are all the Somalis that he's giving a message to? Where are they? I'll tell you where. They're all cashing their checks from the Leering Center and getting the hell out of town. There you go. We pledge our special support to the Somali Minnesotans. Well, I mean, it's understandable. He Governor Tampon Fatshot Tim owes a hell of a lot to those guys. They kept him in power and I think made him pretty rich, or at the very least made his political action committee and campaign pretty rich. So at least he's saying it all out loud. I appreciate that, actually. The honesty and transparency is refreshing. Meanwhile, over in New York, they brought out the big gun super celebrities from 40 years ago. Robert De Niro. He's an actor, you know. And, well, he was handed a script, and he was doing what they say in the business is a cold read. Let me just say it's been a while since Bobby's had to actually audition for a part and read his lines, and certainly having to do it live. I think the last time he appeared on Broadway live in a stage play was probably the early 90s or late 80s. So, you know, every once in a while you reach a point in your life where it's hard to read the script, and it was really hard for Bobby.
How can this be happening? Look at the power of the No Kings National Uprising. Look at the power of the No Kings National Uprising. Afraid of Trump? Please. No, they should be more afraid of us.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. Are you talking to line? Are you talking to me? There it is. Took him 20 takes to do just that one thing. Scorsese was very forgiving with the edit. Are you joking? This is sad. But then he throws the emotion in there. He like, oh, I can deliver this one with a little passion, with a little performance.
How can this be happening? Look at the power of the No Kings National Uprising.
Cut. Line. Take two. Marty, can I do it again? What? We're live? We're freaking live? Oh, no one told me. All right, I'll just go ahead then. I'll just emphasize a line so it looks like I'm not acting or reading this, but actually feel it in my heart.
Look at the power of the No Kings National Uprising. Afraid of Trump?
There it is. There it is. Then the real Bobby comes out. Afraid of Trump? You talking to me? It's honestly, it's beyond pathetic. It's laughable, but we couldn't get enough of De Niro, apparently, at the No King. So go ahead, Bobby.
Every morning when I get up, I reach for my phone to look at the headlines of the day. And for some time now, I start every morning depressed about the latest outrage from our would-be king.
I believe this, by the way. I believe this 100%. Here, this is Bobby De Niro being genuine because he reflects exactly what all of these people... This is Trump derangement syndrome. They start every day immersing themselves in things that will upset them and make them depressed and angry. And that's how TDS feeds on itself. And they only go to the news services that are going to outrage them. They only read the things that are they're not interested in anything that in any way equivocates the outrage and anger that they have. So when you believe them when they tell you, I completely believe that that's what he does because they feed off of it. This is what gives them purpose at this point. Who would give a crap what Robert De Niro has to say unless it's, pointers for a film performance, perhaps 20 years ago. I mean, what was Meet the Fockers the last thing that anyone cared about? I think so. By the way, I do have to say, in the whole Meet the Fockers, Meet the Parents, that whole genre of films, Robert De Niro did an incredible Oscar-worthy job of playing Robert De Niro. No one can be Robert De Niro as good as Robert De Niro. And he really did. He nailed it. In almost every scene, I believed that he was, in fact, Robert De Niro. Okay, take it away, Bob.
I mean, it's amazing. Every fucking day, there's something new and crazy. But it's different on this day because all over the country, in cities and towns and factories and on farms, north, south, east, west, millions of us are coming together to declare no kings. It is indeed a beautiful, hopeful day in the United States of America. And you, Minnesota, are at the epicenter. It is your courage and your commitment that have inspired all of us. You have shown the power of nonviolent protest. You have shown bravery in the face of armed attack by government thugs. And you stood together and ran them out of town. Toast yourselves, pat yourselves on the back, take a bow, but don't take a break. Because today and everything that has gone before is just a start, a rehearsal for the big show that's coming. You know the arrogant would-be king is absolutely scared to death about losing his power and will do everything he can to hold on to it without regard to legality, morality, humanity, nothing. We will face greater challenges down the road. For everything you've done, thank you. And now expect to be asked to do more. I know you will answer the call. Thank you.
You see, this whole thing is a grift. This whole thing is a fundraising thing. See how it says nokings.org? When you go there, they ask for your money. In fact, at every single one of these events, you had people standing up to the microphone asking for money or asking people to contribute more in protests and in their time volunteering. And there he is. They will ask you to do more. And understand something right there where he says, this is just a dress rehearsal. The big show's coming. Because we got to, Trump's going to want more power. He doesn't want his power taken away from him. Let me explain something to you. If you really believe that Donald Trump is a king with the No Kings March, why would an election scare him? How could an election take the power away from a king? It's like the entire premise of their entire argument completely undermines the exact reason that they're out there marching. He's just a king. He's a would-be king. He's a would-be king. He's trying to do all these things that are a king. And that's why we have to win the next election. Why the hell would a king care about an election? And how did he get power? He won the last election. Just keep reminding all of your friends on Facebook who are posting pictures about no king. Just explain to him that the reason that Donald Trump is in the position he is in right now is because the majority of Americans voted for him, and he swept every single swing state in the last election. That's not how kings take power. That's not how kings get into office. In fact, the woman that he ran against, no one voted for her to be on the ticket. She was literally coronated the Democrat nominee. They have no sense of irony, or for that matter, sense of self-awareness. All right, so you just heard all of these protests, thousands of protests, and they were just overwhelming the numbers of people. Well, not really. Not really.
But in fact, the spread of this may be more important than the density. The idea that there are, by organizers' estimates, more than 3,300 of these places, which means it's not just the cities and it's not just the coast. The majority of them will be outside of major centers.
So that's Velshi, Ali Velshi at Ms. Now, explaining to everyone why you're going to see some shots where there aren't a whole lot of people there. Oh, it's not about the density of the crowds. It's about the spread. Let me tell you something about the spread. You can go ahead and fact check me. As always, research this. But a huge number of these protests out in the rural areas and the sparsely populated areas, they were all planned 2 hours apart from each other, and they were about 50 miles apart from each other. Go ahead and take a look. This happened all across the country. They're very smart, these people. They're not stupid. These Marxists know what they're doing. So what they did was they set up the rally in town A at noon. And then they had another rally in town B, 50 miles away, at 2 o'clock in the afternoon. So the rally here went up at noon, took about 30 minutes. Then everybody loaded up into their cars, took their signs, drove the 50 miles, and then did the next one at 2 o'clock. And then did another one at 4 o'clock, another 50 miles away. Says, look at all these protests. And they're the same freaking people. That's what happened on Saturday.
So these No Kings rallies actually look pretty representative to me of the Democratic coalition. I saw people flying the hammer and sickle in New York City. I saw Hezbollah flags. I saw Hamas flags. I saw Palestinian flags. I saw trans signs. I see weirdo liberal boomers out there. This is pretty representative of the Democratic coalition, and that's who funds it as well, by the way. And so I think if America looks at this and says, what do the two parties stand for? They got it at the No Kings rally.
No, I think if you Americans were out there, Republicans.
You like hammer and sickle? You like hammer and sickle flags?
That's not what that No King stood for.
They had a bunch of them.
That, and that is,
they come from somewhere.
Flags
out there.
All right.
A lot of common flags.
Thank you, one and all.
You're muted, Larry.
They really did have hammer and sickle flags, especially in New York City, which I guess makes sense because they literally just elected a Marxist. But I got to tell you, as an American who actually knows more than just a minute and a half of history, when I see people proudly waving red hammer and sickle flags on American streets, I'm so disgusted and repulsed by it. I know in the course of political dialogue and debate and the use of rhetoric, you're not supposed to evoke Nazis or Hitler or anything like that, because the second you do, you kind of are conceding that you've lost the debate. But bear with me for a moment. Communists under Stalin and Mao, just the two of them, are responsible for the murder of at least 20 million, if not more, human beings in the 20th century. Nazis stand alone in their own despicable evil. Don't get me wrong. But as far as I'm concerned, the hammer and sickle should carry just as much vilification as the swastika does. You would not see people waving the swastika flag as some sort of symbol of their movement, or if they did, they'd be immediately vilified and condemned. And yet we're supposed to just say, oh, look how righteous those Che Guevara t-shirt wearing, hammer and sickle flag waving Marxists are. They're so intelligent and intellectual. You know, we just need to try communism in its purest form once in a while, and then we'll really see socialism work. No. The hammer and sickle stands for mass murder. Full stop. And why that's even tolerated or excused or laughed away and just brushed aside is, well, something that people on this panel will have to explain for themselves, because I certainly can't explain it. Thank God Scott Jennings is there. I say it all the time. Our colleague here at Salem, he does an incredible job. Meanwhile, we could go on and on and on, showing you the various morons that were at these protests on the ground there. We had a lot of man on the street videos that we saw. That I'm sorry, what? Oh, excuse me. I'm sorry, not man on the street. They, them on the street. I don't want to get it wrong. And it really does display exactly the kind of lunacy and ignorance that these people embody. We've encapsulated it in just a very, very small handful, especially, this guy, them, they, this situation.
Office. Would you like J.D. Vance to be the president then?
No, I would not.
Okay.
Yeah, I would not.
Okay.
Yeah.
Who would you like to be the president?
Kamala Harris right now, but she didn't win, but
Can I point out something that we say no kings and no authoritarianism, but Kamala Harris, no one voted for her.
yes, they did. Half the country voted for her, so let's not go there.
No one was voted for her to be the nominee.
Yes, they did.
Isn't that what, authoritarian?
You're going down the wrong road right now with me. I wouldn't go any further.
What does that mean?
I'm not going to talk to you anymore. That's what it means.
I just think it's ironic that no one voted for her to be the nominee. They just selected her like a king gets selected, right?
But keep it to yourself, okay? Bye. Have a good day. See ya. Take care.
What's your other sign say?
You don't need to see it.
Okay.
None of your business.
Don't say facts at me. Don't confront me with any kind of your logic or truth. Don't try to trap me. I've got my orange makeup. I've got my hair. I've got my crown. Thought we were going to have a nice conversation. Then you're actually going to challenge the basic premise of our entire reason for being here today. I think I'm done. It would be, I guess, too simple to just say they're stupid. But, well, you know what? Hold that thought. We've got one more video.
1, 2, 3, 4. We don't want no kings no more. 5.
5, 6, 7, 8. We're the 1, 2, 3.
5, 6, 7, 8. It's time for us to legislate.
Yes! Coming in live from Manchester. No.
Okay, they literally couldn't count to 8. Like they literally had a problem counting to 8. And they went ahead and published that. Like I said, it would be really simple to just say they're stupid and ignorant and uninformed and uneducated, even the ones, especially the ones with advanced degrees. It would be simple to say that. Yeah, actually, it was very simple to say that. All right, coming up in a minute, the latest news from this morning. Secretary of State Marco Rubio on the Iran conflict. He's predicting we're talking about a matter of weeks, not months. Have you seen that anywhere? You're going to see it here coming up in just 1 minute. First, though, a sacred season is approaching this week, Passover, when we remember God's deliverance, the night he brought his people out of bondage and into freedom. This year, many of God's people will observe in darkness under the shadow of war. Across Israel, red alert sirens pierce the air. Families run to shelters with seconds to spare. Elderly men and women fear they'll be left behind. Parents comfort frightened children as explosions shake the night. Sleeplessness and uncertainty have become daily life. Passover reminds us that God hears the cries of his people and answers with love and compassion. And that's why the International Fellowship of Christians and Jews is on the ground in Israel right now, providing food and emergency supplies, equipping bomb shelters, and caring for elderly Holocaust survivors. Just as his people once cried out for deliverance, vulnerable Israelis need your help today. Your most generous Passover gift shows you stand with God's people. To rush your gift, call 888-488-IFCJ. That's 888-488-IFCJ, or give online at ifcj.org. That's ifcj.org. They don't have any plan. They haven't told us what their objectives are. They didn't tell us why they started the military conflict in the first place. When will it end? When will it end? We're like 4 weeks into 30 days into the military strikes against Iran. And that's all you hear from people in the media, from people on Capitol Hill, Democrats, even some so-called conservative commentators, pundits, and podcasters. I personally don't get it. I'm sorry. I'm more than a minute and a half old, and I know that military strikes like this are not going to happen overnight, and they're not going to be completed overnight. And it's Iran, for God's sake. All right, listen, I'll get into a little bit more in a sec. But first, how about Secretary of State Marco Rubio earlier this morning with George Stephanopoulos on Good Morning America? Broke a little news here on what is probably going to happen.
First of all, it's important to remember the objectives of this operation from the very beginning. We are destroying Iran's navy. We are destroying their ability, their missile launchers by a significant percentage. We're going to wipe out their defense industrial base, meaning their ability to make new missiles and new drones in the future, because it poses a great threat to the region. This Iran that you're seeing now, this is Iran at its weakest point. Imagine them 2 years from now if they had thousands of more missiles, thousands of more missile launchers and factories to make even more. That was an unacceptable risk. It needed to be addressed, and President Trump is addressing it. Now, they are making threats about controlling the Hormuz Straits in perpetuity, creating a tolling system and the like. That's not going to be allowed to happen. And the president has a number of options available to him if he so chooses to prevent that from happening. Obviously, I'm not going to discuss what those options are, and we're not going to discuss military tactics. The Department of War would be in charge of those things. I'd refer you to them, but obviously they're not going to discuss it with you either. But there is a way forward here to achieve our objectives. We are going to achieve our objectives in a matter of weeks, not months.
There you go. And that's the Secretary of State this morning. But that last line there is the most important one. We're talking about weeks, not months. And by the way, that comes after J.D. Vance's interview with Benny Johnson on Friday, where the vice president said, yeah, we're not talking about a 1 or 2 year thing. And strangely, the headline out of that was, J.D. Vance says that it could take a year. It's like, no, he literally said we're not talking about a 1 or 2 year thing. It's almost like they want to take politicians who work for Donald Trump out of context and distort their words. But let's go straight to the man himself. On Air Force One, the president was talking about a potential deal with Iran, and he said this.
Sir, could you foresee a deal in Iran this upcoming week?
I do see a deal in Iran, yeah.
Mr. President.
Could be soon.
I see a deal with Iran, could be soon. Okay, Mr. President, tell us more.
Are you considering still putting boots on the ground, and would you do that without going to Congress?
I just have lots of alternatives. We have tremendous numbers of ships over there. We don't need them all because of, the power. Look, I would say we're just like we're ahead of schedule on the ballroom. In a much bigger way, we're ahead of schedule with Iran. We're weeks ahead of schedule. If you would have said that in 3 days we were going to knock out 158 ships, their entire Navy, which we did, we knocked out their entire Air Force. We knocked out most of their missiles. That's why you see missile attacks, but they're sputtering. And we have a group, it's really a new regime. It's a new group of people that we've never dealt with before, that are acting very reasonable. It is truly regime change.
All right, so he keeps saying that. He keeps saying that we're working with people who seem reasonable. And we talked about this last week, where he keeps indicating that there are people there that we're talking to, and they've proven to us that they actually have authority, and they've been able to make this happen and that. In fact, he was asked further about this, and he said, well, I asked him to prove something to me, and the next thing you know, we had 10 tankers that were allowed to go through the Strait of Hormuz, and then today they added another 20 tankers. So he keeps talking about the fact that he is dealing with people that he thinks are, well, let's just say less crazy than the mullahs who are now hanging out with their 72 raisins up in Valhalla. All right, so who is it? Well, this is Caitlin Dornbus, New York Post foreign policy reporter, says President Trump confirmed to me today that the U.S. is negotiating with Iranian parliamentary speaker Mohammad Bagher Ghalibaf, saying we'll find out in about a week whether he's someone America can truly work with. Now, up until this tweet from, well, about 2.5 hours ago, the president was very reluctant to name anyone that they are talking to or dealing with, lest they be unalived by the radicals over there who are trying to seize power in the regime. So we'll see. We'll find out in about a week whether he's someone America can work with. We'll find out in about a week if he survives being outed as a prisoner. Or maybe this is the president saying, yeah, I'm done with that guy. Let's say we're working with him, and then that'll take care of him ourselves. I don't know, and I shouldn't laugh about such things. Back to Secretary of State Marco Rubio, who George Stephanopoulos had on this morning. And Stephanopoulos did the same old thing. It's like, why haven't you told us what your objectives are? And it's like, I've been watching this since day one. We were live the day the president made the announcement at 5 a.m. Eastern time that we had launched the military strike. We went live twice that day talking about, and I remember the president's words. I remember what he said. Our objective is to degrade their military ability to strike at us and our allies and their neighbors. That means we're going after their drones. We're going after their missiles. We're going after their nuclear program, whatever's left of it. And we're going to sink their Navy to the bottom of the sea so they can't be a military threat anymore. He said it that day, and they've been saying it since then. So I don't quite get the whole, they don't tell us what their objectives are, but Rubio, he was done with it today. Watch.
This operation, okay, and that's what this is, it's about very specific objectives. The president laid them out on the first night of the operation. I'll repeat them to you now because I hear a lot of talk about we don't know what the clear objectives are. Here they are. You should write them down. Number 1, the destruction of their Air Force. Number 2, the destruction of their Navy. Number 3, the severe diminishing of their missile launching capability. And number 4, the destruction of their factories so they can't make more missiles and more drones to threaten us in the future. All of this so that they can never hide behind it to acquire a nuclear weapon. That was our objective from the beginning. That remains our objective now. We are on pace and, in fact, ahead of schedule on some of those things, and we are going to achieve those things in a number of weeks, not in a number of months.
He's just getting better and better and better, isn't he? And I think my favorite part was, why don't you write this down so you can refer to it again? Because this is one of those misses. This is what they do. The media acts like they're dumb. They may be, I guess, but they say, oh, they haven't said anything about this. It's like, we're all watching. We all know this. Why do we know more about this than you do, Mr. Teleprompter Reader? But they're not dumb. They're repeating this over and over again to make it look like, from their perspective, that the Trump administration doesn't know what they're doing. What was unambiguous about that? Or what was ambiguous about that, I should say? Nothing. Very clear. And Marco's like, write it down. because we're getting sick of this crap. Yashar Ali actually detailed bullet points from a conversation that President Trump had with the Financial Times. This was last night. He wants to seize Iran's oil. He said, to be honest with you, my favorite thing is to take the oil in Iran. In fact, I'm sure you've seen this clip going around. We didn't add it because we've already got a full slate today on this show. But like back in 87, I think it was, a segment he did on 2020 with Barbara Walters, Donald Trump businessman. And he's giving a speech to the Rotary Club. Can you imagine? You're like hanging out in the Rotary Club, and here comes Donald Trump to give a speech back in the 80s. Hey, is that the guy who owns the casino in Atlantic City? Yeah, it is. And during the speech, he said, we should take Iran's oil. To hell with them. So it makes sense that here he is today as president saying, to be honest with you, my favorite thing is to take the oil in Iran. Specifically considering taking Kharg Island, Iran's main oil export hub. Look for Kharg Island potentially to be where you actually see Marine Corps boots on the ground. Just saying that seems like the logical thing. And as soon as that oil export hub is seized, that cripples and ends the Iranian economy or whatever is left of it. He compares the operation to Venezuela, saying the U.S. could control oil there indefinitely. Trump claims Iran has no real defense there. I don't think they have any defense. We could take it very easily. All of these operations right now have been focused on the surrounding areas of Kharg Island to diminish their defenses, and it's basically softening up that target. So when the Marines get there, there's going to be some resistance. But when the Marines get there, it's going to be like a hot knife through butter, I'm told, based on what they've been able to diminish of their defensive capabilities. Hasn't been eliminated, but it's been significantly diminished and deteriorated. He acknowledges it would require occupation. It would also mean we had to be there for a while, again, not years, and not occupying the country and the capital and setting up regime change and a viceroy and and not running the police state. No, it's an oil facility. It's an oil depot, right? Trump claims the scale of bombing. We've bombed 13,000 targets. We've got about 3,000 targets left. Claims regime change has effectively already happened and describes the new leadership as a totally different group of people. Very professional. There you go. That's a breakdown of that interview, which brings us to this morning. Because the big question, so you see all of this and you hear all of this. It's like, oh, but what about the Strait of Hormuz? Okay. All right. If your only focus of success right now is what's happening with the Strait of Hormuz, since that's Iran's last stand, well, here comes your Secretary of Treasury this morning, Scott Bessent.
The market is well supplied, and we are seeing more and more ships go through on a daily basis as individual countries cut deals with the Iranian regime for the time being. But over time, the U.S. is going to retake control of the straits, and there will be freedom of navigation, whether it is through U.S. escorts or a multinational escort.
He's got a really good team around him, and every time you see them this way in the media, they impress more and more and more. It's one of the funny things when you heard the president name his cabinet, and they all had one thing in common. They were all very good at communicating. And people were, oh, why have you got this guy? He's just, a Fox News guy. Or why do you get this guy? Trump just likes him. In Marco Rubio, I remember them saying, Trump just likes Marco Rubio because he was on Meet the Press all the time, attacking the media and defending Trump. And the answer is, yeah. Thank you. Because that's part of the job. Part of the job is to be able to communicate, fight with reporters, call them out on their lies, and properly convey to the American people the president's agenda. Bessent's great at it. Rubio's great at it. Hegseth's great at it. Duffy's great at it. I don't want to leave anyone out. They're all pretty damn great at it. And that's what you're seeing play out right now. And all of this is very, very good news. And one other thing on the Strait of Hormuz, and then we'll wrap this up, because I kept hearing today after we learned that 10 tankers went through yesterday and 20 went through today. And it's like, yeah, but to what countries? Is that just China or India or, to Spain? I mean, that's not going to America. Well, no, you moron. Everybody knows that we only get about 2% of our oil from the Strait of Hormuz, and we really don't need it because we, first of all, just ramped up production in Venezuela, and that oil's coming directly to our Gulf of America refineries. It has nothing to do with getting oil here. It has to do with getting oil flowing globally because that affects the global price of oil. And the people who buy and sell stocks and funds and hedge their bets and trade in the commodities, including oil, they all freak out if the Strait of Hormuz is shut down. So it doesn't matter what countries the oil is going to. It just matters that the oil is moving through the strait. That's what Trump and Bessent are trying to achieve, and it seems like they're making some headway there. And that ultimately brings down the global price of oil, which brings down the American price of gas. Okay? Thank you for your attention to this matter. All right, coming up, we've got some bonus clips that you're going to like. They're good. But first, after a meteoric run hitting over $5,000, gold prices have softened. So what does that mean for you? Well, it means it's a buying opportunity. Whether you haven't yet diversified your savings into gold, or maybe you just want to buy some more, Birch Gold Group can help you. Now's the time. The fundamentals are still all out of whack. Surging oil prices are keeping inflation high. The national debt is still soaring, and central banks are still buying massive quantities of gold. And that's why my belief in gold hasn't changed one bit. Don't take my word for it. Educate yourself. Birch Gold will send you a free info kit on gold when you text my name, Larry, to 989898. There's no obligation, only useful information, including how you can own gold in a tax-sheltered retirement account. It's got an A+ rating with the Better Business Bureau, tens of thousands of happy customers. See if buying the dip makes sense for you right now. Text Larry to the number 989898. Claim your free info kit and diversify your savings with gold. That's Larry. Text it to 989898. Do it today. All right. We got some bonus clips, so let's get right to it. This is a Democrat running for office in Michigan, and he's very, very concerned about one specific constituency.
And I also want to remind you guys that there are a lot of people in Dearborn who are sad today. So, I just don't want to comment on Khamenei at all. I don't think it's worth even touching that. They're going to try. This is what we practice, but isn't Khamenei a bad guy? Isn't it great that he's dead? My first amendment was 86 years old. He was going to be dead sometime soon anyway.
All right. Now, this audio came out the day that the Ayatollah, the leading sponsor of terror and, well, basically a mass murdering totalitarian theocratic authoritarian, was killed in the opening strikes against Iran. And this guy, a Democrat running for Senate in Michigan, was very concerned about all of the people in his state who had the SADS because the anti-American, anti-Semitic terrorist was finally killed. We don't want to say anything that might upset all of the, terrorist sympathizers out there. That's how he's going to win. He's got to, focus on the base. Unbelievable. Sorry. Hang on a sec. I got my big jug today. And yes, it's vodka. The second you think that things can't get any crazier here in America, just do yourself a favor and look north to the People's Republic of Canada. They had a convention of their version of the Democratic Party up there. And, well, take a look.
Thank you, Delegate. There's a point of privilege on microphone 1, then we'll go to microphone 3. Go ahead, Delegate.
Yes. Hello. I was standing here with my gender equity card before you called on the previous speaker. That's my point of privilege that I would like to raise.
I will explain the speaking order, which is fixed, that I cannot amend, which is the pro-con rotation. You can move yourself up a line that you're standing in.
I am pro, and I was...
We went...
You went pro, con...
We went pro-con, pro, and my plan was to go con. The speaker at con mic 3 also has a speaking card.
Yesterday, this card was used in an inappropriate manner. And while I understand in Ontario, we note this as equity, even if this was also used inappropriately in terms of gender. I want everyone to be mindful that these cards for individuals like myself who identify as a Black woman have no value outside of this space.
Yeah, they shouldn't have any value inside that space. It's just a pink card, ma'am. Yes, you heard right. That's the gender equity cards. Those cards allow people that check certain boxes to be able to jump the line in front of all of the, white heterosexual Christian men who are there. Wait a second. There are no white heterosexual Christian men there. Who are we kidding? What white heterosexual Christian man with any dignity would show up at this thing? But anyway, yeah, they hand out would you Kevin? Oh, only with a camera to get good footage for us though.
I would love just to go back and revisit the haircut right at the first frame of this video.
Yeah, absolutely. By the way, this person, the haircut here, this is the chair of the party of the convention, and I was upset. Were you watching like tons of footage from this thing like I was, Kevin?
A little bit. This is the one that really stuck out to me. I mean, like, this person looks like an elf that signed up for Hitler Youth Camp.
I know. To say that they made fun of like Bovino's appearance, right, in the Border Patrol, and then you got this thing. There's another clip where somebody refers to this person as Madam Chairwoman, I think it was, or Madam Chairperson or something, and excuse me, I am gender non-binary. My pronouns are they, them. You can just call me Chair. Which somehow is oddly appropriate. I don't want to know who's been sitting on this chair, but yeah, I mean, it can always get worse here. Remember that. What you're watching and witnessing there with the gender equity cards, it's coming to an Ivy League university near you. Oh, Kevin, did you see this guy? I met this guy, actually. As everybody was waiting, as we saw video after video after video of congressmen and senators getting escorted through the TSA lines, take a gander at this. Do you see that man in the suit there? The dark suit just standing in line with everybody else? Yeah, that is Congressman Mike Collins of Georgia, and he's running for Senate right now. He's leading by about double digits for the Republican nomination, so he can square off against Jon Ossoff. I met him. He was waiting at the airport because he was heading to Dallas for the CPAC convention, and I had a good conversation with him and his folks there. He's the real deal. He's a good guy, and I promise you he's not just doing that for show. This is who he is, and he's exactly what Georgia deserves instead of that Ivy League Nepo baby trust fund kid, Jon Ossoff. This is going to be a hell of a race in Georgia. And finally, bonus clips. Which one is this? Oh, yeah, we're back to this again. Congressman Jason Crow, a Democrat, Jason Crow wants to make sure that the military can defy orders and the chain of command. This is, well, why?
The job of Congress is to ensure that the laws are being followed, that we're protecting the Constitution, and that we have the military and law enforcement do their job and follow the laws as outlined by the Congress. And that's what the video was about. So there was nothing courageous about it. This was not just our right, but it was actually our duty to do that.
Yeah, he was one of the seditious six in that video with Mark Kelly and Alyssa Slotkin. And let me I say it over and over again, but I just got to repeat it. They cannot be trusted with power. Look at how they behave and how destructive they are when they're in the minority and they don't have any power. This midterm election that we're facing right now is so incredibly important. And that's why we need to see each other on a daily basis right here, every day at noon, so we can fight, and win. Thank you, everybody, for watching today. Let's get to your super chat. Sorry we were a little late starting, by the way. We had a lot of stuff going on. Have I been messing with this on screen, or did I just lift it up at the end here?
I don't know.
You didn't notice it. You probably didn't notice it. It says, just so you know what it says, I don't know if you can read it. It says Butch. See that? It says Butch. It's little. My dad's nickname was Butch, and he used to wear this there in the final years. So I keep it on my desk just to sort of keep me focused. Anyway, Stumble Boots, $2 super chat. You're cool too, my friend. Thank you, Stumble Boots. good-looking Garfield. Forens 1K. Forens 1K. Anyway, it's a cat playing the guitar. $1 super sticker. Thank you for that tip. I appreciate it.
Forensic.
Forensic? You sure?
99% sure.
Jeff Depew, $2 super chat. King of Kings, Jesus Christ is the only true king. Yeah, it's the only king I'd go with on the No Kings March. Happy Holy Week, everybody. Angela Child. It is pretty amazing. They did the whole No Kings thing the day before Palm Sunday when Christ was welcomed into Jerusalem as the Messiah and would-be king. You think that's an accident? You think any of that is an accident? It's not. They know exactly what they're doing. Angela, $5 super chat. No Kings Failure Part 3. What can we expect the next blockbuster flop? Mass deportations now. God bless USA versus U.S. God bless President Trump. Thank you, Angela. Happy Easter. $2 super chat. They're not stupid. They're getting paid to do this. That's true. Whenever they're asked any questions about their protests, the reason they can't answer questions is because they literally don't know. They're just cashing the checks. Thanks, Jeff, for reminding me of that. Yolandram, $10 super sticker. Thanks for the tip, my friend. Appreciate it, Yolanda. Angela, $2. Is that what Dopey would look like with a bad wig? Oh, the king. That guy was pretty epic. I hope that orange crap is still on his face and it's impossible to get off. Thank you, Angela. Jeff Depew, $2 super chat. From this point forward, need to be too big to rig. That's right. As my friend Hugh Hewitt on the Salem Radio Network wrote in a book, if it's not close, they can't cheat. And that's what elections need to be. Thank you, Jeff. Thank you, Kevin. Thank you, everyone. We'll be back tomorrow, same time, same place. In the meantime, my name's Larry O'Connor. You can call me Larry.